Yeah, exactly.
That could be also something. And what did you do? So what was what did you like? I don't know. There's an echo.
Sorry?
Can you hear?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So which event did you go to?
I was mostly in the Cello event, and also
Okay.
I went to Sustainable Blockchain Summit. So
Me too.
like
On Saturday, I was there all Saturday.
yeah, but I went there for like Friday, I believe, and I went to this I think.
Did you went to the party
What
on
party?
Saturday night? A
No,
DSI party?
no, I went. I went to this event. Like, but
Okay,
it was
never mind.
awesome.
It's a pity.
Yeah,
We almost met. Almost.
yeah, we met.
No, we met, but we could really bump into each other. But it's true that I was super tired also
Yeah,
because
like I can
it
understand.
was our third event, and I was in Barcelona as well.
Oh, are you in
And
Barcelona? It's
no,
your third
the
event.
week before,
I
the week
see.
before, for the solar punk event. And but yes, I think we should have our gathering. This is one of the. I mean, we want to create some dynamic energy budget gathering.
Software is doing.
Okay, but now I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, like we'll come in like 2 minutes.
Hello? Where is everybody? I cannot hear you. I don't know what's wrong. Okay, let me just type in Omega that something is super weird. Something is super weird.
Can you hear now?
Yes, I can hear now. What did you
Okay,
do?
so I think you can hear. That's it. Because before I couldn't hear you, but now with Mert we talked, and so I think all's fine.
Mert, can you?
Yes, he just talked before. I think he just went away for a few minutes.
Okay. I was talking all the time. I just couldn't hear any one of you. Maybe it's the same.
Yeah, so and I couldn't hear you, and so I think I can hear you now. So I think probably everything is solved.
And Letty and the others that were there, could you hear them? No, I cannot hear you.
I don't see Letty. Do you see Letty?
No, me too.
Yeah, they were within the vacuum was there.
No, Mert, can you talk? So
Hello.
Hey.
Hey Sebnem, how are you? Like, I'm super sad that I missed you in ECC.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew that I won't be there. I couldn't be around because I had to come in on Friday already.
I
And
see.
that's basically my family away budget is like four days, not more. And especially if I sacrifice weekends,
Yeah, I know.
I get double minus points.
I see.
No, but it was super cool just to see the images that Jean shared. She also had the pleasure to meet a lot of people from Kernel and so on. It was just super super cool, and I
Yes.
just feel sad that I didn't. I don't know. Have you been there already on Monday, on the 18th?
Yes.
No,
Oh
you were there on
no,
Monday? Oh, so
it's so
so you were
sad.
there on
No,
Monday.
that for that I need to excuse. I at the heat of the last days, I forgot to tell everybody from tech that we had this event for Unity Crypto,
Yeah,
bringing the
John told about it.
crypto carbon ecosystem together. It was really, really nice. You could have seen Jean's art and some generative art we make from carbon emissions avoided data. That's really value that you don't see. Value that you create by doing not doing something.
Mm.
So yeah, but it was just too much. As you
Yeah,
can imagine, too many things, and that's actually one of the uh one of the insights that I have, like with two actual full-time projects that I really that in which I'm actually 100% needed. I really have I will have less time for token engineering comments or this the Omega working group. At least as steward, I would love for us to continue this the safe space that we have to come in and really ask for wisdom.
yeah. Like
uh,
I watched I listened, but couldn't really talk in the focus group that Felix and Lydia created. It was super
mhm.
nice discussion, actually.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
and it,
Uh,
mhm.
I'm so sorry that I missed it. Is there a chance to watch it, or are you going to have another one?
Well, there will be two more. The next one is about private profit versus common benefit. And I think Felix is going to lead that one, but Lydia is also always there. And what they do is really super structured focus group, and they also analyze the what we share with them, and will also create a research report on that. And the first one was about value system of token engineering commons. It was super insightful. Also for me, for example, I don't know, I came in, from token engineering community, or way before there was the institutionalization of it, and just the questions that they asked for sign up made me remember, oh wait, I am not even part of the token engineering commons association, which is actually Swiss association. And so actually, when I had this question, like, since when are you part of token engineering commons, I actually had to say I am not part of it, like, as an institution. But obviously I am this community of token engineering. uh, I feel the unity with it. So that was pretty insightful. I don't know how, maybe we can make a short round of people who were there, and if of people who might have questions. Might, do you want to share more?
About like what I am
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, like of the token engineering comments, the value systems, like did you have any insights, anything uh,
Like the
that
inside, like maybe I couldn't give like a super structured argument, but like what I feel like there is like definitely the sense of like dissent, etc. But we need some sort of like more like maybe workish environment. I feel like like for example, we were thinking about transparency. I couldn't really comment, but what transparency involve? Like, for example, even lots of people don't know about like what praise come from, etc. So like, who is praise service? Like, what is common stack doing about it? So maybe like the general idea, like introducing the general idea will be better, I feel like. But other than that, I feel like this was super like good takes. Like for example, from Jeff, from you, from Lydia. Like I couldn't formulate an argument, but I feel these need to be done more so that we can feel that we can target what we have think about, what we already think about, and maybe change it, and it may reflect to practical considerations of TC.
But I have one question, because you are working group lead and you're also part of this. You are actively participating in the Scrum process. What is the difference between the Scrum process, like doing sprints every 2 weeks and updating each other on the work being done and so on, versus such a session like yesterday? What's the difference, if any?
Yeah, for sure. Like Scrum is more about, like as you said, we've done this, we've done that, so it's more about update. But yesterday was more about like how do we approach what we think we are.
Like the soul searching and the big picture. It's more
Exactly.
like the visioning, or how, like the direction and the vision and so. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's what I think about. Like Scrum is like whether you want to chime in something about like other working group, very practical, sometimes missing the soul that focus group has. But it's what it is. Like, both
Yeah,
are needed, I believe.
yeah. I think that might be the insight, that these regular, or making focus groups regular, could add more qualitative, and then more this direction finding. Maybe like that's what we do or what we practice in Omega all the time, like this compass. And I, yeah, uh,
You
uh,
know, like
like
I
here it's no structure at all, but just this, like what's happening, the sensing. Uh, and yeah,
like
interesting.
I think humans are work in a environment that let them to be creative. So as like a participant of any DAO, like I believe decentralized work. So like if you are not subject to the bureaucracy, etc., it's good. But at the same time, I was like, maybe you read the proposed inverter article there. Like I was explaining the Stafford Beer's idea of like creating practical restrictions that allows you to be creative at the same time conduct the work. So I feel like in Omega we are more close to the creative side, but time to
Right.
time I think it's a good example that how this creative work can be more enriching compared to more structured, like product manager kind of structure. So it's like super interesting to see these nuances actually in Omega and in the focus group as well. Like
And we need both, right? And I think focus group is even more had a very different quality to it, even like
exactly.
a third dimension. Super cool. Anyone else who would want to share, or was there, or if someone has a question about the focus group, the yes of yesterday or the next ones, maybe we can go through that. If not,
Possible to just attend?
yeah, definitely. Let me try and share my screen.
how many people attended the focus group?
Mm. Some came in later and some had to leave a bit earlier or earlier. And I think we were on the whole 5 to 7 at all times, if I'm not mistaken. But what I thought was it was cool to see Jeff. So Jeff was more or less coming in from the trenches, but it was mostly Token Engineering Commons regulars like Steward, which was also good. Merit was also there. I think when it comes to Token Engineering Commons values, it was clear. Also, the communication was quite short term. So for next one is August 15th or 18th. Edu from Communities is going to help also with communication, and it's also more about getting hatchers, like people who have participated in hatching the Token Engineering Commons, and or token engineering or tech holders, as well as token engineers and stakeholders. For the next one will be important. Yeah, and I'll ask Felix again to share the dates, but Edu is going to help. I'm gone in August, mostly offline because of family trip to Turkey. Finally, after all these years. So
Yes. Where
yeah.
in Turkey actually, Sebnem?
Izmir, around Izmir, but we will do a road trip along the coast. I missed every place. Yeah. I don't know where you are about.
So I'm originally from Gaziantep, which is like, south, but I will be at Istanbul. If you anytime be in Istanbul, please text me. Like I will be.
Okay. I need to get back in touch with you anyway. I will. Okay, cool. Yeah, but that's what I'm looking forward to next. Yeah. Okay. So about the focus groups, any more questions? No, then basically please keep in mind if you're around, August 18th is the next one. Mostly, or the topic is private profit versus common benefit. And I think it's an interesting one, especially if you're looking into, or if you're really burning for this question of how are we going to fund public infrastructures, public goods that are global. I think it's much deeper question than we get at token engineering commons, or when we talk about public goods or open source. I think if we would get at the root of that and find the levers, we can really tackle questions of climate change and the like, because those suffer from the same problem solution fit, short-term need or thinking versus can we have this big picture of and new imagination and moral imaginations, to say PB, solar punk girl, moral imaginations of a future on Earth. it can go really deep, the next one. I think that's going to be a good one. Okay, I'll ask Felix again for the dates and ask them also to blast it much earlier. Okay.
Yeah, like I need to go a little bit earlier. So I wanted to do some points if there's space.
Perfect.
So
yes,
about
please,
the
please.
distributions, like I couldn't get everyone's wallet actually. Like maybe I can do some more cat herding, like share, like please things, but the ones that I get, I sent actually, but just Letty I couldn't find, like, Letty, can you send me again? I'm so sorry, like with the conference and all those work, like I was not the best multi-sig guy.
Matt, could we ask you to make an overview, like with all the information about the wallet? Is it a 2 of 3 or what type? And then also yeah, whatever actions happen that you put together the info in an Excel file or so.
Yes, for sure. I will do today, I'm promised. Also, I did a video about how to
I
convert.
know, and I couldn't find it. Where is it?
I can send it again because, like, the unwrapping DAI and bridging into ETH is
Yeah.
kind of like three to work. So, like, if you're not exposed to this, it may be tricky.
Yeah, if you're new to Gnosis chain or even entirely new, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for example, once Manu sent wrapped XDAI to ETH, so it just burned. So, like,
Okay,
like to send fun secure, I will resend the video again.
please, yeah, that's super
About,
important.
I would love to, like, learn about the Magic Finance, or no, sorry, like I forgot the name of the UX agency, but
Magic powered?
yeah.
I don't know if
Did you have a chance to talk
no.
with them?
Yes, and Ravi wanted to be here today. Let me. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Are you coming in to wait a second. Omega. Sorry.
No, so maybe we can work on a document that deliver what's the features of the library, because it's still kind of vague. Like, we can just sit 2 hours, write whatever we want, dump it, and review.
Well, no. And that's what I want. Like, what I want to make a clear point of, like, there is this creative flow that's going on, and it is not structureless. It has a rhythm, right? And it requires, we could say, okay, now give us a report, and that would be horrible, soul crunching. But what we can do, and what I can do, like, this is what I live for, and what I start calling harvesting. I don't know if this is a nice word or not. I'd like to find a better one if you have, but I love to go into these creative areas and see and understand better, and then I make a design spec from that. Technical people who want to, bring it down to zeros and ones don't have a hard time anymore. Okay, that's yeah, and I would love to learn how I can be better at it. So actual people from both sides see this as a bridge and not me as a translator, kind of thing. But that is definitely something. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I say something? Yes.
Yes.
Because this idea of interdisciplinary collaboration, which is really something I mean, it's important, and important for Deb. Yes, you're right. Not a translator, maybe not even a bridge, but a circle. So maybe it doesn't have to be the full-time circle. I mean, it doesn't have to be for each participant to be full all the time in interdisciplinary mode, but to have sometimes the space for interdisciplinary collaboration. And so one of the reasons I was curious of the focus group, besides the fact that I'm really interested even just to witness it, even if the next one will be more tech for me, I'm very happy to be there and understand 20% of it. but also because the topic is very connected to one thing that we heard in the global block sustainability blockchain summit on Saturday. So I have this idea of having doing some pop-up focus group on interdisciplinary collaboration for NIRCON conference in September. And so I have no idea, what the focus group are for, but maybe if it's something you think it might be interested, we can, if I can get a bit of insight, in terms of methodology.
Yeah, definitely attend the next one. And it is conducted by social scientists, so it's another protocol, if you will. Yeah, they definitely attend the next one. But I think the Merit's point was really about the T Consilience library, and I realized that because the work and the artifacts that are being created do not comply with a standard output, which is a design specification. It seems like it is not specified, but it is. Like I can really go in and I see like the transdisciplinarity part is a big puzzle. We need frames of reference for it anyways, and literally with this library, it's the first way of even trying to structure. Right, token engineering token engineering knowledge is still very much dispersed. It's horribly hard to actually learn, get a foothold. That's why only really people who are autodidacts and are used to teaching themselves stuff find a foothold here. So this library is one of its first kind that doesn't just give you, okay, this is engineering and you just do the engineering part of token engineering, but actually takes in the whole flower, right? But interestingly, where token engineering commons draws a lot of people: psychology, decision science, philosophy, political economy, and so on, law. Right. So I think there, this value of transdisciplinarity, especially from this group, I think that is what we set out to, and happy to bring this down into design spec. The second part, value of novelty, the NFT self-discovery game. I don't know if people are looking and following. Every Monday almost, Satori and others are meeting. It's really super interesting. I had the pleasure to be part of it, I think 2 or 3 times already. And yeah, it's like this audiovisual experience and NFTs that people get alongside their aha moments. So that's super exciting. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that, but definitely there I can do things to bring it down into design spec.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, Sharon, maybe we can like write a user story of like 1 or 2. Like it will be nice for devs to understand what's going on because
and that's why I reached out to Magic Powered. Is they also have a really a way of dealing with the complexity of this space. So definitely the way I reached out to Ravi, I asked him, and he doesn't seem to have joined yet. I don't know what happened.
Hi guys, I'm here.
Oh yes, you are here. Yes. Okay, perfect. I was just pitching. So I had the pleasure to work with Magic Powered now multiple times, and I learned them, connected to them through block science, Zargam, and token engineering, because they're basically the ones where token engineers go to when things are super complex, and actually get translations of the design pretty well. So if Ravi, if you want to add some things like how or what input will you need, and then basically we can maybe put bring this down together just now to say, okay, design spec from this group could help you either provide some mock-ups or some input for the proposal.
So
so
honestly,
that we get
at this time, Sebnem, I want to listen a little more.
right.
I will at the end of this call hopefully have enough information to say what more I need. Right now I'm still I'm just still digesting. I think if I had the more
Cool. So
the more
good.
context
So
I'll have. Yeah.
okay, so good. So there are 3 points that we can go deeper into. Let me just let's just briefly ask the group if there is any other questions or things that we should any questions from the previous points? Else we're going to go into this proposal for the implementation of the library and provide Ravi with some more background. He hears of it for the first time in full.
Hey, what's
up? Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Okay.
So, like recently, and so for what's been happening with the mandala, basically there's like 2 different like things to like form this kind of like cool little mandala. Anyways, 3 points of reference, kind of like what we do in the Omega curation, and or a like your antidote, or what I'm calling a poetic expression. So it could be like reference to music or whatever, as we get more creative with it or whatever, can be what forms the first spore for the mandala. And then what I've been doing, which becomes the game which I'm testing out with my friends over on Imaginarium, is that I get them, put them in doing this spears of them, and then that creates elements for the mandala, and it's kind of like that bead game where it's association of what the beads are. So like for instance, like what I'm doing with my friends is I have the first sketches of what is I refer to a Koken, my little pyramid character that I used, that was me and Curry Hobo developed. Anyways, his first sketches, after me and him talked about this idea, we had an Imaginarium, and then I was like, oh, we need to get this character, and I went into this rant, and then he did some sketches, and then he sent it to me, and I'm like, okay, we got to do this. And then we formed this whole like little character, and I didn't know what I was going to use it for, but that's just like an example of where we could start the spore mandala. So then I asked my friends to give me references to these 3 poetic references that I make via my channel, right? And most of the people, my friends, would kind of get what I'm saying, because I talk about all this kind of stuff all the time with them, right? So I want to see what they would like. You go through the feed, and then you put the references in there, and I'm like embedding more, like hyperlinking the spore mandala, right? Because I have like this vision later, is like the NFT helps you like navigate Web3, and so like whatever your mycelial network is, you plug it into your dashboard, and then you get like updates from Imaginarium, see what's going on in tech, and blah blah blah, whatever else you want to like form the different shapes of the mandala, and how you could like form your dynamic energy flow mandala, and like, and it could like even like we could like make it rotate in these kind of interesting geometry that I've been exploring about, echoes and rotations and reflecting
here.
the real stuff. Yeah.
So Ravi, brace yourself. I think I don't know, but I think for me this is the most creative project I've had the pleasure to see
Sebnem,
unfold.
every time we work with you, there's these crazy Miro boards that have to go through.
This one actually, this
It looks
one
like Figma,
was kept
but
in shape. No, this one was kept in check by Nick, actually.
excellent, excellent.
Otherwise, we would have found another one. But like this has become the main theme or the main design, and basically also the connective element, more or less the self-discovery game. And I think you will need more input, but just so you see the parts of the puzzle, you know this cryptoeconomics flower, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, from the foundations of cryptoeconomics, all of these sciences are actually into resource allocation and coordination problem, which is what cryptoeconomics wants to solve. And especially this shows everyone who comes into cryptoeconomics and think, oh, that's just, cryptography slashed with reverse game theory. Like, yes, but not only. So and like who's behind or some door openers like Trend AI optimization controls theory, Zargam industrial systems and systems engineering control theory, AI operations research management science, and then many more like Sharman economics, philosophy, political science, like people who have laid the foundation. They've seen all, or they have appreciated all these and seen all these patterns, right? That made them realize, hey, this isn't something new. It's just doing it really transdisciplinary for real. Anyways, and this library is basically riffing off this and basically ask people to curate their most enlightening pieces of readings or videos or even, I don't know, music. Could be anything that helped them to actually make sense of the space. And then we asked them to annotate. And one of the first, of course, curations we got like this. I mean, we have one collective curation Omega. I can share you the link, but I think it's better if we actually curate it once for you or created once for this design spec. But we have a collection how it could become. And Zargam also did one curation that is exactly like how we wanted or how we envisioned. It's a super surprising one. He could have chosen so many obvious ones, but he chose a very, very special one, a very deep one about what information actually is. And also added the very personal annotation. So this is exactly what we want, like this personal, anecdotal, almost annotation instead of a typical abstract of a paper or of a book that you could have. But you can have this abstract everywhere on the internet, right? But actually getting a super personal anecdotal annotation that helps, that token engineer or practitioner shares with people of how that piece helped them make sense of some portions of this flower with respect to cryptoeconomics. That I think that is pretty clear, but what this Imaginarium or creative flow made off of this, I think we can go deeper, but these 4 mandalas are actually created with the words that the creator uses in this anecdotal annotation, And apparently there are some more ideas of how these personal mandalas of the curators can help them connect to the pieces of the flower or the petals of the flower, but also connect to other curators and other learners and so on. So that part needs maybe a bit more specification, etc. But as you see, there are really good notes, and the Satori and Within the Vacuum are the ones who are working on these visuals that are made from words that the people are using to curate. Okay, so that's one big part. Yeah, the glass beads can be an example, which also basically people play with associations. I think this associative links is a big one. Or finding those associations.
Max, you remember the kind of content, not management, but content review system we were talking about with the journalist who was doing that work on Pitcairn Island, where she wanted the interactive, almost intuitive descent into this massive sea of information. So not guided, but actually completely intuitive, and you went in whatever direction that you wanted to find the next thing that made sense or the next thing that made sense. So that each time you enter this kind of sea of knowledge, you have a different journey depending on the set of questions you start with. I think this might be a similar process, and I know how much you enjoy dealing with that. So I think Max, you're going to have some fun.
Max is here as well.
Max is here, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Whenever I basically had Sebnem somewhere, it always some crazy things, flowers, and math. I'm into the data structure, so just give me like 5 minutes to onboard. I just joined like a couple minutes ago, and then maybe I can spit out something meaningful.
Okay. Yeah. The data structure. Let me see. Okay, the most structured thing we have is actually MZ's curator profile. So, one more thing. Maybe it's already in here. So the flower or these are the sections, if you will, or the categories, roughly, right? What else do we have? Oh yeah, and this transdisciplinarity. Like we want to show, or the curator has to somehow make, because they know how what they are sharing actually connects to the other domains. Like they are the knower of transdisciplinarity. Or what is interesting, what could be super interesting is one curator says this resource connects to, is mainly computer science, but connects to systems engineering, law, and game theory. And what would be interesting is a second curator comes in and actually adds from their perspective that it's actually also AI and optimization, and that's why, and their personal annotation. So basically, it is the curator and their view of how this resource that they're sharing is transdisciplinary. It could, like, the consilience is the jumping of knowledge together.
What is the end goal of the whole platform protocol, or what it is?
Well, it is to create a library that isn't a list of links. It is to create a library that, number one, puts forth the value of the transdisciplinarity of this space. Like normally, because in academia, you are rewarded for remaining in your silos. That's why something like crypto economics would never emerge in academia, but could only have emerged here in cyberspace. And this library should, celebrate that, as well as actually create the links such that we don't have a linear list, but this connection. Actually, it's not a matrix, but a tensor.
Well, what do you
and
100%
the
right
second
now.
part, and the second part is how do you navigate through this? Should give you two more values. Number one is the novelty part. That's why the self-discovery game is what emerged, from the creatives. And the second part is while you're navigating, can you make human connections? And that's basically what, until now we think will come through the personal annotations. And then we can look into here. Or more question?
No, it makes perfect sense, but I guess we can get a lot of value into looking back into the social networks and Web2 layer. Since what you just described is basically a relevancy engine and curation engine. And
Right.
the days we were working with medium.com, like when they were shifting from like a manual actual people curators to more of an automation thing. So it's basically a lot of linear algebra. The question is, it's not about how to do that. Is the question if we want to have this process automated, or do we want to keep it like a decentralized manual process? That's the biggest because that basically will tell us which approach should we take from the beginning. In terms of the UX of navigation, unfortunately, people, if you're looking for a mass adoption, we need to follow the pattern which people used to, and the major thing to have user retention and length of the session is basically the criteria of relevancy of the content. If the content is relevant to you, and it's every single piece of the content is relevant and interesting, and you and engine propose you the path, which is not linear and can bring you from, let's say, AI and computer science domain to, for example, design and cognitive psychology one, but you should not actually perform the navigation. The engine should understand what to propose you next out of performance on top of this particular unit of content. This is how basically most of the social networks and advertising engines work. So even if it will be like a plain text or like a simple markdown, if the relevancy is very high and the engine knows what to propose you next, then we will meet this KPI and goal that you just described.
Agree. And the relevancy, though, just adding here some the more or less the thesis or the relevancy is not just content wise,
relevancy subject, right? Like subjective kind of thing of relevancy. If you're into let's say so I don't want to make a decision every single time where I want to go and explore, because making decisions is very kind of heavy on the cognition of the user, right? So I need to make the decisions, or I want to explore this, or maybe I should go here first. So the good kind of thing will figure out what you want more, and maybe after each content unit you will have 2 or 3 options, like you have on YouTube, for example, right? Videos. Like, this is the exact way those engine works, and they achieve the same result that you want. It's just users are never bothering like how they and why they there, but it's basically more fun and more engaging way to surf through the content, right? And for the sake of entertainment, of learning, or whatever. So
Gotcha. So everyone meet Max and Ralphie from Magic Part, who really help to bring these crazy mirror boards down to super pragmatic and smart solutions based on their background and experience, which is a super
Amazing.
practical. So yeah, like it's like Ghostbusters.
To be honest, not that I just have experience explaining Dr. Zargam kind of crazy visions for a long time.
Exactly.
Whenever I see MZ somewhere, my brain switches to explanatory mode.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
perfect.
I don't know if it's useful, but I was sharing, I was looking for the link actually of, I've seen this kind of library in artistic environment. So to me, that's a confirmation that it's a good idea. And especially I've seen it in Lisbon a few weeks ago about climate change.
Oh,
yeah. And it was really interdisciplinary, and it was very much a mapping. It was a physical experience because it was a presentation in a museum, and you could, move it with your hand about the map, and you had different options. But that was this interdisciplinary as well.
Yeah.
But with the idea of the value as you described it.
So I think we're almost running out of time. Two things, like one thing I want to show, and then but a big but about the budget that is still left, so that Max, it's for actually doing the proposal. So basically, if you just look at the data structure or model, it is simple. It will be the curator, then some. So we want to get as much unique perspective or links as possible, things that you wouldn't find in Wikipedia or, as mentioned, like on Goodreads or some review websites. So what kind of lenses they have, right? What is their background? And then something to share could be, I don't know, their favorite food or their favorite food for thought, like a citation. Maybe these things will change in the future the more we experience what are really triggering insights. But then curator's name, the title of the curation, the link to it, and the abstract, like one would expect. The second part that is specific is this consilient space, this one. Again, we could likely, going through this with you, we would have deeper insights how to do it better. And the third part is the anecdotal annotation, like we ask them not just for the abstract, but actually why they chose this specifically, really as personal or as contextual as it can get, right? And here, basically, Zargam just added 2 more curations, if you will, right? And there are others. As I mentioned, we have we have made a collective curation test, but that needs some cleaning up as well. In a sense, I would put it into this format, so you have more example, and we have a prototype more or less of how this library could look like. And that would be one thing that I can go in, and I will ask the group to just support to get you this more of these curations, basically, right? But Zargam was the first, if you will, outside or first early adopter curator.
I will call up Steve probably today or tomorrow and I'll torture him a bit about that. But sort of cut you off. Implementation wise, the biggest question to me is basically how do we train this machine learning model to decide what is relevant next for a particular user right now? Right. It's basically
That's what I wanted to ask you actually. Doesn't it always start manual and humans actually do
that's called
the
a hot
curation?
start. That's called a hot start in the machine learning and relevancy structure engines. It's when you actually first ask, you can show this flower to the user first and ask him what he likes the most. And you use it as an initial matrix to start building this tensor of his preferences, right? So each time you have some like very objective user behavior metrics of the user. How long does he stare at the content unit? What is the scroll depth? It can be whatever, right? And some imperatives like button clicks and stuff like this. And then like the moment and it's like almost like a pub sub way of understanding the user. So the moment you engine understand, the software understand that the user is near the conclusion of his consumption of this particular unit of content, we need to decide what to propose him next. And that proposition should not be kind of smart or just pick this. We need to hit an actual strike of the subjective relevancy to that user right now, because otherwise that doesn't make sense. So for example, if you, Sebnem, you're into this things that I usually see on your mirror boards and notions, like some complex, pretty fuzzy, and at the same time math heavy things. So I can tell that you are into the data science and you into the creativity and stuff like this. So I need to understand what to propose you, what might be interesting for you after you just concluded this, consumption. Because if I will, for example, propose you something like I don't know, the problem of automated market makers in DeFi, you probably will be disappointed, right, of that relevancy. You will scroll next. And this will happen. It's the question of, as I said at the beginning, it's a question of how we want to train this model. If we want to train it manually from users, like going simple surveys every single time, that's one thing. If we want to go like all in and create like an actual big AI model that will train like and stuff like this, that's the other approach, because it either a very kind of tricky and simple but heavy database of interactions and stuff like this, or that's an actual AI where you basically to build the tensors of the king and queen, linear algebra, and this kind of magic, right?
And is it possible to include a kind of surprise? Like, is it possible to include in the AI the notion of surprise
there can be some random effects, and it's not even possible. That's almost mandatory, because the good model learns every single time. The way you decide if the model is good is by the percentage of the mistake this model does. So in order to keep this AI in shape, you need to continuously propose something unexpected by the AI to make a decision upon. So, and you actually learning from these decisions when you propose something like you said, surprise. And this is how you increase the relevancy output of the engine.
And what about in user experience? The whole idea of surprise is actually one that is quite beneficial. So if everything you get is of the same kind, and you're not getting anything new out of the box, then the experience tends to be kind of boring and tends to end in basically dropping off. So that's very much part of
like you buy one item and the next days, for 3 days, you see more of that item on every web page you go. The most useless.
The joys.
Exactly, because we want the opposite. We want the opposite. We want the user
exactly, but I think I think the big question is, and like, do we have anything to train from this, no, like I think that we are left to the human training part, and then there the question goes deeper, and that's where I wanted to actually to cut short or expectation wise also Max and Ravi, like where do we stand with this? We have gained the support of token entering or tech holders for going for this library for this prototype version and see what we want it to be. And this is for that we got 15K or something. And Marit isn't here, but I think we have 4K or so left from it. And what we want to do is a proposal for the implementation. And what we would love to have is, number one, like have you guys on board as people who can really implement this without making it too simple, right? Capturing, I think that a few really, not a few, like I think the group here made amazing and very surprising discoveries with respect to, okay, what is novelty? How could we do this? Like, how do people use this library, learn, but also learn each other and create connections, learn themselves? So that's super interesting. And the goal would be like whatever, it might not be enough or so, but definitely at the very least that we have an estimate for you if we get this proposal, how much should we include for design and development, and not the creative design that, you know, I believe the ones who contributed will continue as well to be and to accompany it, but really to design it as a web page and or website with everything that belongs and the implementation of it. And again, you know, we can do this in phases as well, that the implementation is the first MVP with a model and with a business model or a sustainability model, including tech. That, and if you can, if it would work out, I find exactly how much we have left. Like if you could have, and maybe I'm asking too much already, you tell me, but if you could have one or two mock-ups that will make it number one, that will highlight the creative input that we gathered in this first version,
So,
to really highlight it and get basically funds for actual implementation of it.
so have you ever heard of the ImageNet?
Yeah, the training set,
Yeah.
right?
So I can propose to have something like ImageNet for something related to crypto, because in order to
Interesting.
fundraise for a model, right, you need to capture the model.
Yeah,
And
we need
the problem with the data scientists and machine learning engineers,
right.
very pricey, right? And I, for example, can throw in some diagram and like requirements document how that should look like out of per experiment. But in order to implement, you need to at least like 100 hours or something, and that's already like you know, almost like a lot, right? And so the thing is that I would propose to describe the idea very well in order to source funding, and without going for any MVP, because even the MVP in the machine learning and AI, you know, spaces is pretty costly.
It's very, very costly.
So
exactly.
then what I would do for the MVP, I would take something like, you know, an article or any unit of content that the community prefers best. Or it can be an article or whatever, right? And then repeat the image game, right? ImageNet challenge. because it's very, very similar. The way you train, it's very, very similar. But the ImageNet, it's just, recognizing the picture. It's more of a computer vision challenge, but you can take this approach and make it and adjust it towards the relevancy, right?
Right.
To do that, you need,
Gotcha.
on top of the actual asset, you need to throw in an extra layer, which is basically a social graph of your interactions between the users. So you need to have this layer of a social network. For example, there is you, and you are friends with, I will call friends, or you have contact or relation to me, Zargam, and Ravi, right? Zargam is all design. I'm all about the implementation of the pricey projects, and Ravi all about like invoicing people, for example, right? So the
He
way,
doesn't agree.
the way you will be interacting with the content, let's say that would be an articles, right? Because there is some idea which is easily described in the end, like a bottom line of the article. Your relevancy, the things that are relevant to you, tell me who your friends are, tell you who you are, right?
Yeah, I got you.
You will have a modifier applied to your relevancy score depending on who you have in your friends, right? So, and that can boost initial relevancy times. But then you would be actually forced to train your model out, and the only way to train it is out of the usage of your model by people. This AI thing, you constantly need to consume data in order to learn, right? So you need to have a user base that's not just coming in right one time and just click something. But you need to have an actual retention and actual length of the session, so user will consume, I don't know, like 10 units of content in order to efficiently train this model. So I would say, unless you fundraise with a very solid idea, I would not start this, because budget can fly out of the window very, very quick.
Quickly.
When we tried to automate curation back in the days, we had negotiations with medium.com, and then there was like 7-digit numbers because how big of a problem it is, and they wanted to buy. So manual curation is way simpler, right? But then you depend on the user base and the usage. Automated curation is much more faster, and you need to have less users. And if you have proper UX and consumption of the unit content is fairly fast, then the AI can learn faster.
Okay, let's let that all sink in. I think this session was already super helpful to bring it together.
Mention the way these things are usually done in order to achieve relevancy for the user. You have a network, a platform, where you have a simple algorithm of relevancy, which is very empirical, right? So let's say geographical, or your preferences that you just set yourselves, or the timeline, or whatever, right? It should have some relevance. And the unit content unit has traits which you track, and you start to train your model on your existing user base without even proposing like this is the relevancy and stuff. It's very hard to start relevancy on the absence of the data set. You need to have a data set to train your model. So usually it's done. You have a network, it produces a data set, you push the record button, or you create a data set like in a period of time, then you create an MVP of the relevancy engine, then you deploy it, and it starts to train himself even more.
Yeah. No, I think the first thing that we will need is really, as you say, like first find a way to fundraise and also crowd source the data, right? The curations and so on. So that's number one. And like I said, that's another actually challenge. We've been around now for I am around for 5 years, and seriously, since 3 years, like fully token engineering, saying, okay, we need more token engineers, and I couldn't be more, more disappointed after so many years to just still have only a handful of practitioners that are always, booked out and no time and so on. So there's a
That's
huge
actually the
bottleneck.
key issue. That's a key issue of the crypto industry because a lot of people I don't know how much we're in the industry, like maybe 6 years or something, building those products. The major thing that I see, people tend to think that the blockchain and Web3 is very, very complicated. But the moment you face AI, machine learning, and advanced things like data science and data engineering, this is the exact moments when you realize that doing an integration with MetaMask is just a development. It's not any different from integrating with Stripe payment model.
Yeah.
It's different in its own way, but it's just another framework. The only thing that is really complicated on a blockchain is basically the virtual machines themselves and coming up with the compilers and the cryptographic itself. But it's very, very low level. So very few people in crypto actually touch it. But when people build dApps, these dApps, they lack the things that we are already used to in a Web 2, that this convenience provided by the big tech to the rest. And because of that, we spend a lot of time on Instagram, TikTok, Medium.com, and Twitter, and stuff like this, because those platforms know what we are interested in. And the problem is nothing new. It just never was implemented in crypto yet.
That's right. That's true. Yeah. Interesting.
I have a slight counterpoint.
I
have a slight counterpoint to that. I think Max, the technology itself is not more complicated, but I think what is complicated, and I think token economics is very much at the center of this, is basically how do you it's incentive mechanisms and in emergent systems. And I think that's really, to me, the novelty of crypto is not decentralization per se.
Building a token model is way easier.
Building incentives is
model, the AI model that will create a tensor of a freaking I don't know how much data points and being able to navigate it fast. So it's a big data science, heavy computational one projects that require you to even maintain it, to run a server that usually costs around 4 million euros.
But there are people who are trained to do that. I think token engineering is not. Hasn't reached that place. Yeah, that's the thing.
It's about creating a self-sufficient, self-reinforcing economical system that will be decentralized at the same time as effective for the participants at the same time as well. So I see the challenge. I understand that this is a complex thing, but you need to be an economical PhD or a data scientist at the same time. When we're talking about the implementation of something like machine learning and AI, this is the whole different space, right? It's a lot of things where people make it. The problem with this is to onboard those people to crypto, because those people, they make ridiculous amount of money. And I'm saying ridiculous. Imagine a data science department who increase efficiency of the I don't know, diamond production kind of holding group. If you able to create with something that will boost this efficiency for 1%, you're already saving billions of dollars. And or vessel shipment, this kind of, you can train your model to understand the winds and the currents and stuff like this, and you can save it's insane amount of money. So those people are very, very valuable to and most of them are hired
established businesses and so on. Yeah.
So it's challenging. It's very challenging. And it's not impossible. And it's definitely something that we put our feet there for some time. And we did something that I may be proud of it. But it wasn't. It was not a great success. It was some sort of a success, but it was not like to the moon or something. Because it's maybe like 20,000 people on Earth who's capable of doing such cool things.
No, I agree with you, and we see it here again as well. Like the thing that we need for implementation is the as you said, the web infrastructure that needs to enable the data harvesting, and all of that. And then you have the social layer that you need to capture and all of that, and then you have the chance to play with the incentives or in parallel, but without having all the infrastructure data and the connections.
Yeah, it
you know,
boils down to having
yeah,
a data set, having an interface for
totally.
people to manually train this model by interacting with this data set through this
Gotcha.
interface. And then you basically spend some time training a model, and then you check if the relevancy is high enough for you.
Yeah. So my suggestion will be this: before, like, let this group come up with something that is, includes all of the insights of today, and then we share it with you. You just look at it and play it back, and we'll see how far the tech holders want to go or can go. Okay, we might need to break it down into more pieces, and I don't know. Let's see. But that was super helpful already. I don't know, Mart. You just joined. Do you have it in mind how much budget we have left from the token engineering consultants library, the first funding we got? Oh, he left again.
He left, but I think it's 4,000.
Okay.
So let me, I'm thinking of it how to approach it with like a very low effort first. So what I would actually do, I would do something like a Wikipedia, right? I would do a user profile where a user can tell the AI which topics or fields the user prefers, right? And then we can mark each article or content unit with a similar traits. So then we can recognize a pattern, which users with which pattern goes to which link by which links. It will be just a hyperlinked table, right? Like Wikipedia.
But then somehow following their navigation in the beginning as well.
And
Like,
we will be
which way do they
recording
go?
the navigation and do the comparison with their preferences and the traits that the content unit have. So we will be able to build initial relevancy for a specific type of the user, right? It's not that this user, because the relevancy is the kind of broadcasting live thing when we're talking about the actual efficient thing, which, like, I don't know, TikTok or Instagram runs or YouTube. It's a real time thing. But in order to start training your model, you can do it like step by step. So basically, you have your interest. You this is your route. This is how you explore, and we can even map this thing visually to show people how you interact. This will be a pretty fun experience, I guess, to learn what is your pattern and how you move through the content.
Yeah.
It doesn't require any kind of complex UI to interact with. You just need to have the user profile again, a trace assigned to the content unit, and then we need a software that will track it, right? The machine learning model that will just report it and do these decisions.
And we still have people here who are actually interested in those traces because they create art from it. So I think that there we have actual people who are interested in being the human looking at those traces and making creating some insights of it. So that's also an additional data qualifier
Question that we have covered before we'll be able to create a proposal for such an MVP is how much and who will be doing the legwork of mapping this, right? So there should be a content that is a hyperlinked, just like a Wikipedia. Like, for the sake of simplicity, imagine a Wikipedia article. There should be someone who is basically clicking on the links and then telling that this word is the link, this thing is the link, right? So we need to have hyperlinked content table, data set, basically. First, someone is a lot of manual work, like a lot. We need someone to do that, and then build on top of that a software with machine learning that will start to train itself.
Okay, so I'm just adding some manual hyperlink annotators and so on. But we have that number one, and we also have that as people who want to learn from this library. I think they will be also the ones who will add maybe not the curation or qualitative part, but they will create basically navigational data, and those are the ones who we could also confront with those 2-3 questions. And I think
if you have a token, that's a good way to incentivize users.
Right.
So there's a lot of projects who run quizzes and stuff like this. So if you can have it like, here is the data set and a bunch of articles, go read through them and mark things like together. This one links to this thing, right? You have a search bar, which allows you to search the data set, and you read